Bandidos, I'm going to give you 3 builds specifically tuned to get the most out of the Golden Bullet Global event in the Division 2. One of the best global events for the Division 2 is back, the Golden Bullet. That means tons of fun, tons of XP, red stars, and buttloads of loot. I have selected 3 of my favorite builds for this event, tailored and proven in Season 9 and further perfected for Season 10 Golden Bullet. If unique, fun, and effective builds are your thing, hit that like, comment Golden Bullet down below, and let's get this party started. You can find the season event schedule by going into your menu and selecting the Seasons tab. The countdown to the event is at the top. These events last only 1 week, so when a good one like Golden Bullet arrives, you want to have your ducks in a row to milk every bit out of what this game has to offer. So tell your fam, your significant other, your dog, and your cat you're going to be digging in. Send snacks. What's also cool is that we're going to see this event again 3 weeks after this one ends, so you're going to get the miles out of these builds. Here's how the event works. A random enemy will have a golden bullet over their head. If the enemy has the golden bullet, getting shot by them is going to hurt extremely bad. There's a loading time for them, so it's possible to prevent them from ever having the event buff. Kill that enemy with that icon, and now you have the golden bullet buff. It brings massive damage and mega RPMs, and each kill refreshes the duration and automatically refills your magazine, preventing reloads. This ammo does not come from your reserves. Unlike other events, such as the Hollywood Global event, there are no direct defensive buffs for the enemy. So, killing the bearer of the golden bullet is important, but to get the most out of the buffs, it's just as important to get your follow-up kills as close together as possible so the buff doesn't expire. So although just about any build works for this event, some can do a better job at helping you chain your kills together. Do that, and you will be clearing content super fast. Why is that important? Because these events dish out red stars. Red stars are a form of currency you can use at a seasoned vendor to purchase caches. You also earn the caches in the event's mini rewards track. Get red stars by completing the event challenges and by simply leveling up your character while the event is active. There are no limits to the number of red stars. I've known people who have achieved over 2,000 red stars in a single week. I'm not sure if that's still feasible. I aim for about 160 red stars, enough to buy 20 named item caches. If you're looking for exotics or exotic components to up your gear expertise, these events are a ton of help for that too. You can only spend your red stars during the week the event is active. They will vanish when the event ends. Find this vendor at the base of operations to spend your stars. Since leveling up your character can earn the greatest bulk of red stars, we're looking for XP. To get that, we want to clear as much content as we can in a session. Knowing the player base likes to farm this event, the builds I recommend allow for directives and for heroic content. And all the builds you're about to see I ran with 4 directives. That is 100% XP bonus. And I did this without the global event, without the serious damage buffs, RPM lift, and auto reloading. Since the event is giving you all of that at godly amounts, it's a great time to get outside of your comfort zone with your build. Experiment, have fun with it, test the limits of your playstyle and the build's capabilities. From my experience, this event's buffs are so strong, front loading too much damage leads to overkill anyways. So for the event, I like to create builds with the event buffs or debuffs in mind. And in this case, I redirect potential unused damage to more survivability from armor, powering up skills, and faster recovery. And I know we have a great build in hand when it still rocks outside of the event. The first build is a striker hybrid. This build is proven to clear content quickly. The idea is to stake out your plot, hold your ground, and clear the entire control point without doing much running around. The gameplay you're seeing is the build version I used in Season 9. Even without the golden bullet and 4 directives, this build can clear a control point in 3 minutes. With the buff, it's possible to go even faster. I'll break down the build and show you a little bit of gameplay without the event buffs too. So here's the modified build for the Season 10 Striker Hybrid. This hands down is one of my favorite hybrids, and it really shines in the Golden Bullet event. And that's because Striker, of course, is a very powerful gear set. So I ran this for the Golden Bullet Global event in the last few seasons. And because I was able to review the gameplay footage from previous Golden Bullet events using this build, I was able to actually optimize it a little bit further for this season. Now, the previous one was loaded up with crits, but I realized because of the build and the Golden Bullet event, event, we were overpowered. And if you pay attention to the gameplay footage, you will notice that the enemies died too quickly, and therefore we weren't getting very many striker stacks. And that's the striker gear set before they changed it. And so if you look closely in this gameplay footage, notice that the stacks never really get up super high, and that's because we're getting all this crazy damage coming in and the enemies just can't handle it. The max stacks on this version of the build was 100, and as you can see, sometimes we get close, but it's rare that we get there. It does happen, but it's just rare. So keeping that in mind, I decided to go with the same chest piece that I ran in the earlier version. So I'm running the Cheska chest piece with the skill tier. It's got crits everywhere and glass cannon. So yes, you don't have to run glass cannon, but remember, the golden bullet is going to power up your primary weapon and not your skills. Your weapon is going to be strong enough, and every time your skills get the kill or your weapons get the kill, you're going to extend that golden bullet. So it's important that your skills are strong because they're going to get that for you, as well as the 10% armor on kill. So one of the changes I made is to run with Gunner. We're running a Memento, so that's going to give us 3% armor regen, and if we were running more armor cores, we'd also get the bonus armor with that. But I thought, with this one, it's just realistically going to be play from cover. But Gunner here, I'm not really worried about the ammo, although that's a little bit helpful. But remember, with the golden bullet and a continuation of golden bullet, you're going to refill your ammo and not pull from reserves. So the ammo is not really the issue. I'm really after that 10% armor on kill here. It's not a lot, but we're killing a lot. And we got the 3% armor regen, which is going to help when we get pounded into cover. And we have our skills that are basically acting as a cloaking device, which allow us to spend more time out of cover shooting instead of hiding. So I'm not going to go into too much detail on the Memento. Basically, you're going to, like I said, you're going to pick up your trophies for the most part when it's safe to do so. You're not going to be lacking any power up front. This is a very strong build. So on average, a control point has about 50 enemies. So you should be at full stacks before you finish your first control point. 30% weapon damage on full stacks, 3% armor regen, and 30% skill efficiency. And when you do grab a fresh trophy, if there is one close by, that's an additional 30% skill efficiency buff. We're using the capacitor. What makes it special is it has the highest damage to armor of all assault rifles. It also comes with health damage, so there's no damage to targets out of cover on this one. And then capacitance drives more power to the capacitor with every skill tier. And it's also giving us 60% skill damage. And then as you can see, we got 10% crit chance mod on this thing, as well as a 30% crit hit damage mod. So I got crit chance on the mask with skill damage in a skill tier. And then of course the Cheska is filling in some gaps there. And then I got another crit chance mod on the backpack. I'm at 54% crit hit chance. That's just because of the pieces that I had. I would try to get to 60. Do that if you can. 87% crit hit damage. The gloves is skill tier and skill damage. The knees are more of the same. And so is the holster. Everything looks the same. The original version had crits in all those skill damage slots. So what I'm doing is redirecting some of that damage to the skills. The skills will get more kills as well as a primary weapon, and therefore making it easier to not only acquire, but to prolong the golden bullet throughout the entire control point. The next build is for Hunter's Fury fans. You might remember this build from last season. It's the one that did this. Here's the version for Season 10. It's strong enough to one-shot execute all heroic named bosses with directives, even without the golden bullet buffs. It might not be super obvious that a Headhunter shotgun build is super fabulous for the golden bullet. But oh boy, it actually is. It plays into the mechanics of Golden Bullet in a different way than some of the other builds that we're running. Now, the reason why it works so well is this, is for one, you're getting the power up from the Golden Bullet that's making the build that's already really strong even stronger. In fact, this build is so strong, you don't even need the Golden Bullet to activate serious amounts of damage. Just watch me execute all of these bosses, running around basically shieldless when I'm using the shotgun, and sometimes I pop a shield when I need to if I get cornered and I use my pistol. But otherwise, it is a run and gun, and the success of this build without a shield is highly based on your knowledge on how to flank in this game. If you want to see me super flank using this build, I recommend watching this video, which is unedited gameplay of me clearing multiple control points back to back in a single session where I don't go down once with 4 directives. It's a version of a build that I created called the Blitz. So it's been around for a little bit. I've just modified it for the Golden Bullet event. And one of the things that I've done is because we get all of this power buff, I've added a lot of armor. And so we're running with 1.3 million armor. And last season I ran 1.5 million armor. So you can do that too. 1.3, 1.5, it's all good. You're gonna have the power to take care of business. Now in the gameplay footage where I'm running this without the Golden Bullet, I'm running 1.3 million armor and it felt just right. I think without the Golden Bullet going over 1.3 million armor, it could be probably a little bit tanky, but it's still might work because of how I've configured this build. So pay attention to the details here. So for this to work, you need to use one of the strongest shotguns in the game. Me, I'm using the M870 right now, but I also use the KSG shotgun. It's actually a really good pick for the Golden Bullet event. Right now I'm at 1.6 million, and that's with the 1.3 million armor. So think about that. We got shotgun damage, damage to armor, damage to targets out of cover. It's got a horrible reload on this, but we're not worried about that. And then I got pummeled. 3 consecutive kills, refill the magazine, and grants 40% weapon damage for 10 seconds. 40% weapon damage is not a joke. And then we're running the Memento, and that's because we're playing out of cover. So of course, most of the builds where I'm running around out of cover, I do like to use the Memento. And you will see in the details here that the Memento is actually pretty important for the success of this build. But before I get too far into the Memento, let's just go ahead and jump to the chest piece. And so this is a headhunter build, so I am focusing in on the head. And yes, you can kill enemies with body shots in a single blow, not a problem. But we want to chain kill, and there's nothing better than headhunter for chain killing. I'm running Badger. I got armor regen, and headshot damage. I'm not really into the armor regen, and I'm sort of stuck with it. I'd actually prefer weapon handling, believe it or not. As you can see from the shotgun, it desperately needs all of those stat improvements. If you don't have a good Badger Tough chest piece, then go ahead and use the Walker and Harris name chest piece called Chain Killer that has perfect headhunter. It actually allows you to get to the cap a lot faster. So I'm basically using the TAC 50 to get a head start. And that's why I'm running the sharpshooter specialization. And so that's allowing me to have some range because none of the other weapons are giving me any range. And you'll see that I'm using every single weapon in our arsenal here. So we're running 4 pieces of Hunter's Fury. There's nothing better for a shotgun. This is a high risk, high reward play style, and the Hunter's Fury gear set bonus, Apex Predator, is enough to get the job done. So 2 pieces are going to give us 15% shotgun damage, and then we have 3 pieces that which are going to give us the 20% armor on kill, as well as health on kill, and then 4 pieces are giving us Apex Predator, which is going to give us 20% amplified damage to anybody standing within 15 meters of us. And then when we stack those kills, we're going to get additional amplified damage that's going to last for 10 seconds, which is helpful for chain killing. As you can see, armor, headshot damage, everything is going to be basically headshot damage on this build, so it's very easy to put this together. So here's my gloves, which is weapon damage and headshot damage. I also have this piece with the weapon damage and headshot damage, and then the holster, no surprise, weapon damage, headshot damage. So when I said the devil's in the details, let's go back to the Memento. Okay, so we got 4 red cores, right? So every time we kill an enemy, we're gonna pick up that trophy, which is gonna give us 20% weapon damage for 5 seconds. And there's no build that uses the Memento's short-term buffs better than a Hunter's Fury build. You're out in the open, you need every bit of power and defense that you can get. So that's gonna be 20% weapon damage bonus, which is gonna make the next enemy even easier to kill. And then when you get that 3rd kill, remember you're gonna get the 40% weapon damage when you get that 3rd consecutive kill. Lasting for 10 seconds, which is gonna make the next 3 enemies even easier. Everything is on this build is very short and intended for fast gameplay style. So you got 10 seconds buff there, 10-second buffs here, and then you got 10-second buffs there. The only thing that lasts longer is this Headhunter, which is 30 seconds, which is pretty long actually. And then when we grab that trophy, we're also going to get that 30% bonus armor. And that's our survivability, tons of survivability. We're okay to take damage. And that's because when we get that next kill, we're going to get 20% armor on kill and then another 30% bonus armor. So technically an effective 50% armor, 30% of it is going to go away after 10 seconds. But that's enough time to get our next kill and get more bonus armor and then even stack that bonus armor beyond 30%. And we're actually using that skill efficiency too. So when we're at full stacks, we're going to get an additional 30% weapon damage. We're going to get 3% armor regen and we're going to get 30% skill efficiency. We are using the skill efficiency. That's why I'm running 4 directives with this build, because I am playing into the riot foam. This allows me to actually play faster because it holds enemies still. So the 30% skill efficiency is going to actually give us status effects, which is duration for this, as well as skill haste, so we get that ammo back faster. And then I'm running the bulwark shield. And last season's golden bullet shotgun build, I ran firewall, and that's because I wanted the striker shield, which gives you additional damage to enemies standing in front of you. But I realized I didn't really need all of that extra damage, but this allowed me to like go into full defense mode if I get completely surrounded or whatever, which happens from time to time. And now I'm running the Regulus as my pistol. You may not have it, so just go with what you have. It doesn't really matter. Do the D50, otherwise the Liberty. Now my backup weapon, I'm using the rock and roll. And the way I use it is like this. When I come against one of those really strong, tanky bosses, like these heavy gunners, what I do is I hit him with the shotgun. With one shot, will bust his ammo belt, and then I whip out the rock and roll and just finish him off. But that's the only time I'm whipping out the rock and roll, is for those really tanky bosses. So as you can see, I have 151% headshot damage. So it's important to get at least 150% headshot damage. That way you can get the most out of your headhunter. That raises the cap from 800 to 1,250%. We're showing a little bit of armor regen here. That's just from the chest piece. We're gonna actually have 3%, and that's from the memento backpack. And then of course we got the 20% armor on kill. Otherwise, tweak this to your playstyle. Have lots of fun. Remember, you're gonna have tons more damage than this because of Golden Bullet. This build is new for Golden Bullet because the gear set was just given to us as part of Season 10. The original version I created for legendary content, and I know it rocks. With this new version, I am accounting for the high number of elites we encounter at heroic control points, and I've added more defense because of the mega offensive buffs the event dishes out. So I'm not showing you actual Golden Bullet footage here, but I wanted to show you that if it works with heroic and 4 directives without Golden Bullet, then you're not going to have a problem with it at all. Because remember, the Golden Bullet gives you more damage. So moving fast, killing quickly, and healing quickly are all very important components to a successful Golden Bullet build. This is a hybrid damage build for your skills and your primary weapon. It doesn't look like it. It looks a little crazy, I know. But we're running the mechanical animal as our primary weapon. I have crit mods all the way across and a larger mag. It's got damage to targets out of cover and future perfection. So weapon kills grant 1 skill tier for 19 seconds. Stacks up to 3 times. After that, the next skill is going to give you overcharge for 15 seconds with a cooldown of 90 seconds. So that means you need to have 3 skill tiers already on your build. So we're running Technician. That's giving us 1 skill tier. Then additional 12% damage to robotics proxies, as well as 10% more skill damage from the skill tree inside Technician. I'm running the Memento backpack. I have crit chance here. This is giving us 3 core attributes: weapon damage, an armor core, and a skill tier. So that's our second skill tier. We're gonna get 5% weapon damage per red core, which is 15% weapon damage every time we pick up a trophy. We're also gonna get 10% bonus armor. So I've loaded this up with 3 armor cores. That's gonna be 30% bonus armor every time we grab a trophy. And this is what I mean by being tailored to the Golden Bullet. But what the blue shield is doing for you, what that bonus armor is doing for you, is allowing you to move out of cover a little more freely. And by doing that, you're able to grab more trophies and give your skills serious boosts, because you can get 5% skill efficiency for every trophy that you're picking up for every skill tier you have. But more importantly, you can have 30% skill efficiency when you're fully stacked. Also 30% weapon damage when you're fully stacked. Now, I decided to go with the contractor's gloves. So this is one of the adjustments I made because I know we're going to be doing a lot of heroic content. And the second wave of every control point is basically pure elites. So this accounts for that, as well as the named bosses, and you're going to encounter 2 of them. So the contractor's gloves is giving us 8% damage to armor. As you can see, the assault rifle gives us the health damage and the damage to targets out of cover. So this is an additional multiplicative damage that we'll find very helpful. And then I got a red core with crit damage on it. And then Umbra, which is giving us 15% crit chance, 30% reload speed, very helpful when playing out of cover, and the talent from the shadows into the light. And I have armor, crit damage and crit chance on the mask. The chest piece increases the stacks from the shadows from 50 to 100. So what it's saying here is that you're going to have 100% crit damage when you're at full stacks, as well as 30% additional RPM to your weapon. When you're out of cover for at least 5 seconds, you're going to gain armor regen stacks. When you go back into cover, you're going to get 40% armor regen, and the backpack is giving us 3% armor regen, whether we're in or out of cover. So very good heals going on here. The holster's got a skill tier and crit chance. That's pushing us to 3 skill tiers, and then the gun fills in the gaps. And then lastly, we got the knees with an armor core and crit damage. As far as the turret, there's not much to see here because this is without the buffs, but there's the base turret. It's only 3 skill tiers. Of course, that turns into 6 very easy, as you can see from the gameplay. And then there's the drone. Same thing. So the drone and the turrets also allow you to move freely without a shield because they distract the enemy so well. And don't forget to use the busy little bee when you start off the fight especially. That's going to help you get your future initiative stacks, those early stacks, really quickly. Here's a quick look at the stacks. As you can see, we're at max crit chance. This is 105% base crit hit damage. And then we're going to have another 100% crit hit damage from the gear set. So that's pushing us to 205% crit hit damage with 8% damage to armor, as well as the damage to targets out of cover. So as you can see, this build is not lacking any damage, not to mention the 30% weapon damage you're getting off the backpack and all the skill damage that's going out as well. Very fun build. This is one that I'm going to use a lot when I'm not running the other builds that I've showed you. If you love Division 2 lore, check out my signature Netflix style build miniseries. I have 9 episodes in this playlist. You can binge all of them right now.
Follow me.